I didn't hire the tutor because I was naive. I hired her because I was tired. Tired of watching my daughter Sophie stare at her math homework like it was written in another language. Tired of the late night tears that turned into morning headaches. Tired of telling myself it would click eventually. And tired, if I'm being honest, of being the adult in our house who always had to solve things. My husband Adam loved us. He worked hard, he provided, he kissed me before leaving in the morning and texted me a heart emoji on his way home. But when it came to Sophie's struggling grades, he always said the same thing: she just needs confidence. Confidence didn't change the fact that her teacher had started sending home emails with words like concerned and falling behind. So I found a tutor. Not from some sketchy flyer stapled to a pole, from a respected agency. Background check, references, credentials. Her name was Celeste Hart, and when she walked into my kitchen for the first time, holding a clean folder and wearing a professional smile, she looked like the answer to a problem I was too exhausted to solve alone. "Mrs. Weller?" she asked, extending her hand. "Lena," I corrected automatically. I'd always hated being called Mrs. Weller. It made me feel like an accessory. She shook my hand with a grip that was firm but not aggressive. "Lena," she repeated, "thank you for meeting with me. I reviewed Sophie's latest assessments. I think we can help her catch up quickly." Her voice was calm, not sweet, calm, like nothing in the world ever rattled her. Sophie hovered behind me, clutching her pencil case like a shield. Celeste crouched slightly, not enough to be dramatic, just enough to make eye contact. "Hi, Sophie," she said. "I'm not scary, I promise." Sophie blinked. That day, for the first time in weeks, my daughter laughed. It was a small laugh, a surprise laugh, but it existed. And when Celeste left, Sophie said, "Can she come back tomorrow?" I should have felt relief. I did. And that relief was the doorway Celeste walked through. Because once you let someone into your home for a good reason, you stop watching for bad ones. The first month went perfectly. Celeste came 3 times a week. She arrived exactly on time. She never smelled like cigarettes or perfume that lingered too long. She always asked before opening a cabinet or moving a chair. She built little routines: a glass of water for Sophie, a 10-minute warm-up, a sticker chart that made my daughter proud instead of ashamed. And every time Sophie got something right, Celeste didn't just say "good job." She explained why it was good. "That's it," she'd say. "Do you feel that? That's your brain making a new pathway. It's not magic. It's you." Sophie started saying things like, "I'm good at this," instead of "I'm stupid." So yes, at first I adored her. Adam did too. He was usually home for at least one session a week because his schedule was unpredictable. He ran a mid-sized logistics company with his brother, and some days he came home early, other days he came home looking like he'd fought a war. The first day he met Celeste, I was making pasta. Sophie was at the dining table, and Celeste was drawing a neat line on graph paper. Adam came in through the garage door, loosened his tie, and stopped. "Hey," he said. Celeste stood smoothly. "Mr. Weller," she said, professional smile in place. He blinked like he was trying to place her. Then his face did something I couldn't name. Not panic, not excitement, just a flicker. "Adam," I said, "this is Celeste, Sophie's tutor." "Right," he said too quickly. "Of course, nice to meet you." They shook hands. Nothing about the moment screamed danger. But my body remembered it later, the way Adam's thumb brushed her knuckles. The way Celeste's eyes stayed on his for half a second longer than necessary. It was small, so small, and I would have forgotten it if Celeste hadn't said as she sat back down, "Your business must keep you busy." Adam paused. "Yeah," he said, voice tight. "How did you—" "Lena mentioned it," Celeste said lightly. I did not, but I laughed anyway because sometimes your brain chooses peace over accuracy, and that's how it started. Not with a kiss, not with a lipstick mark, with a detail that didn't belong. Celeste became part of our rhythm. She didn't just teach Sophie, she learned our house. She learned that Adam drank black coffee, that I preferred tea, that our dog, Maple, barked at delivery drivers but adored people who crouched down and let her sniff their hands. She learned that Sophie hated fractions but loved patterns. She learned that our hallway floorboards squeaked near the guest room. And she learned something else. She learned where Adam kept his keys. It sounds ridiculous to say that, like it matters. But it did. Because once someone knows where your husband's keys are, they've moved from visitor to familiar. And familiar is where the boundaries get blurry. There were little things. Celeste started arriving 10 minutes early. At first I appreciated it. I could finish a phone call, I could set out snacks, I could have a moment where someone else handled the pressure. Then I realized she didn't wait in the car. She came inside. Always with permission, always with a warm smile, but still, inside. Sometimes Sophie wasn't even home yet. She'd be in the bathroom brushing her hair or upstairs looking for a sweater. And Celeste would be standing in my kitchen with her folder like she belonged there. One afternoon, I came down the stairs and found her looking at the framed photo on our entryway table. It was from her wedding, me in lace, Adam in a suit, that stupid glowing happiness people capture before life teaches you what it costs. Celeste turned when she heard me. "Oh," she said, smiling. "You looked so young." I laughed. "We were young," I said, "and beautiful," she added. Her tone was neutral, like she was reading a fact. But when she said beautiful, her gaze flicked to Adam. Because Adam had walked in behind me. He'd come home early. And I watched Celeste's face change. Again, it wasn't dramatic, it wasn't a gasp, it was a subtle tightening around her mouth, like she was holding something in. Adam said, "Hey," and moved toward the fridge. Celeste said, "Hello," and didn't sound surprised. And then she said the second detail that didn't belong. "How's the Riverside account going?" Adam froze. The fridge door stayed open. Cold air spilled out into our kitchen like a warning. His eyes snapped to her, then to me, then back. I felt my chest tighten. "Riverside?" I repeated. Adam laughed too loudly. "It's a client," he said. Celeste smiled. "I'm sorry," she said. "I must have overheard you on a call. Sophie's sessions are quiet, but sometimes your house carries sound." She said it so smoothly, and my mind wanted to accept it, because the alternative would mean something I wasn't ready to name. So I nodded. "Yeah," I said. "This house is basically a megaphone." Adam shut the fridge with a soft slam. His smile looked glued on. Later, when Celeste left, I asked him, "Did I mention Riverside around her?" Adam didn't look at me. He rinsed his mud too aggressively. "I don't know," he said. "Maybe. Lena, she's around a lot. She might have heard something." That should have satisfied me, but it didn't, because I knew the Riverside account. Adam had never said that name in our house. He hated bringing work home. That was one of the things I loved about him, or thought I did. The next week, my mother called. She started the conversation the way she always did. "How's Sophie?" "Better," I said. "We got a tutor." "Oh, good," she said. "Finally. God, Lena, I was worried you were going to let her fall behind." There it was, the casual motherhood judgment, the way she made everything my responsibility even when I had two hands and a marriage and a job. "She's doing great," I said, sharper than I meant. My mom softened. "I'm glad," she said. "What's the tutor like?" I described Celeste. Professional, calm, effective. My mom made a noise. "She sounds polished," she said. "She is," I agreed. My mom hesitated. "And Adam's okay with her being in the house so much?" I laughed. "Why wouldn't he be?" My mom didn't answer. She didn't have to. That silence was the oldest warning system in the world. When I hung up, I told myself I was being paranoid. And then, because the universe loves irony, Celeste texted me that night. Not about Sophie, about Adam. Her message read, "Just confirming tomorrow's session. I know Adam has that early meeting, so I'll come at 3 instead of 4. I stared at the screen. I hadn't told her about Adam's meeting. Adam hadn't told me about an early meeting. So how did Celeste know? I waited until Adam came home. He kissed my cheek. "Hey," he said. I held up my phone. "Celeste says you have an early meeting tomorrow." A flicker, again. Adam's eyes moved too fast. "Oh," he said. "Yeah, I forgot to mention it." "With Riverside?" I asked, trying to sound like I was joking. He forced a laugh. "Something like that." My stomach tightened. I watched him take off his shoes, watched him avoid my eyes, and I told myself the lie women tell when they feel the ground shifting. It's nothing, it's a coincidence, it's stress. But coincidences don't usually text you. The next few weeks, things started to slip. Not in my marriage at first. In Adam's business. He'd come home tense, sit at the table, and stare at his phone like it held a threat. One night, Sophie was upstairs doing her practice problems on her own because Celeste had built her confidence that quickly, and Adam sat in the kitchen with his laptop open. I poured him tea. He didn't drink it. "Talk to me," I said. He rubbed his face. "We lost a shipment," he muttered. My brow furrowed. "How do you lose a shipment?" Adam's laugh sounded empty. "Not physically. The paperwork got rerouted, codes got changed. The driver ended up at the wrong distribution center." "That sounds like sabotage," I said. He looked up sharply. "Don't," he said. "Don't what?" "Don't say that," he said. "It makes it sound intentional." I stared at him. "Isn't it?" Adam's jaw tightened. "We're under pressure," he said. "Competitors are aggressive. People make mistakes." But his hands shook when he closed the laptop. 2 days later, Celeste asked me a question that made my skin prickle. She was packing up her books while Sophie ran upstairs to get her water bottle. Celeste smiled at me. "Do you ever feel like you carry the whole house?" she asked. I blinked. "What?" She tilted her head. "Like you manage everything," she said. "The emotional labor, the schedules, the invisible work." My throat tightened. It felt like someone had reached into my chest and named a weight I'd never admitted was there. "I guess," I said. Celeste's smile was soft. "Men don't always realize how much we do," she said. "We," that word, "we." Like she was one of us. Like she belonged to the category of women in my life. But she didn't. She was a stranger, and yet she spoke like she knew, like she'd studied me. Sophie came back. Celeste's expression changed instantly. Back to Tutor. Back to calm. When she left, I stood by the window and watched her walk to her car. She didn't check her phone. She didn't fumble with her keys. She moved like she'd already memorized the steps. That night, I checked our home camera app. We had cameras outside because Adam insisted after a string of porch thefts in our neighborhood. I rarely looked at them. I told myself the cameras were there for safety, not suspicion. But suspicion is what made me open the app. I scrolled back. I found a Tuesday afternoon when I'd been at the grocery store. Celeste arrived. She opened the front door, walked in, and then, 2 minutes later, Adam's car pulled into the driveway. My stomach dropped. He'd told me he was at the warehouse. On the screen, he walked in, no tie, jacket off. Celeste stood in the entryway. They didn't hug. Not in that grainy, silent footage. But they moved toward each other like magnets, like bodies that already knew the distance. They disappeared from the camera view. The footage didn't show the inside of my home, but my mind filled in the rest. I stared at my phone until my eyes burned. Then I did what I always did when I was terrified. I acted normal. I didn't confront Adam that night. I didn't cancel Celeste's sessions. I didn't tell anyone. Because once you say something out loud, it becomes real. And I wasn't ready for real. So I watched. I started keeping track. A notebook in my kitchen drawer. Dates, times, who was home. I felt insane. But I kept writing. Because what's worse than feeling insane is realizing you weren't. Celeste's visits started to shift. She offered extra sessions. Just until Sophie catches up, she'd say. And Sophie was catching up. Her grades climbed. Her teacher emailed me with a smiley face. I should have celebrated. Instead, every improvement felt like a trade. Like my daughter's success was being paid for with something I hadn't agreed to give. Adam started suggesting Celeste stay longer. She's already here, he'd say. Let her finish the unit. He said it casually. But his eyes stayed on her, not the obvious staring of a teenage boy. Worse, the comfortable gaze of someone who's seen her without her mask. One afternoon, I came home early from my job, an office manager position that didn't make me rich but kept me sane, and I found Celeste in Adam's office. Not at the dining table, not with Sophie, in his office, sitting at his desk, her laptop open, Adam's file cabinet drawer half open. Sophie was in the living room, headphones on, watching a science video. I stood in the doorway. Celeste looked up. "Oh," she said, not startled. "Why are you in here?" I asked. My voice came out tighter than I intended. Celeste smiled. "Sophie needed a quieter space," she said. Sophie was not in the quieter space. She was in the living room, Celeste continued, like she didn't notice the gap. "I was just setting up," she said. "Adam said it was okay." "Adam," I swallowed. "I don't love people using his office," I said. Celeste nodded. "Of course," she said. "I understand. Boundaries matter. Boundaries." The word sounded like an insult in her mouth. She closed the file cabinet gently. "Won't happen again," she said. That night, I asked Adam, "Did you tell Celeste she could use your office?" Adam didn't even hesitate. "Yes," he said. My breath caught. He said it like it was normal, like I was the one being difficult. "Why?" I asked. He shrugged. "It's a quiet space. Sophie concentrates." Sophie wasn't even in there. But I didn't say that, because if I said that, it would mean I was calling him a liar. And calling your husband a liar is a door you can't close once you open. So instead I said, "Okay." And I started planning, not a confrontation, a confirmation, because the difference between suspicion and truth is evidence. And Celeste, I realized, was the kind of woman who only got caught by receipts. The first receipt came from Sophie. It wasn't intentional. It was a casual comment over breakfast. Sophie stirred her cereal and said, "Celeste said Dad is really smart." I paused. "Did she?" Sophie nodded. "She said he built his business from nothing and that it takes a special kind of man," Sophie said. "She said you're lucky." My spoon froze mid-air. Lucky. That word? It sounded like a threat. "What else did she say?" I asked. Sophie shrugged. "She said some women don't know how good they have it until it's gone," she said. My stomach turned. "Sophie," I said carefully, "did Celeste say that to you?" Sophie frowned. "Yeah," she said, "but she said it in a nice way." I looked at my daughter, her earnest face, her desire to believe adults were safe, and I felt something in me harden. Because Celeste wasn't just in my house, she was in my child's head. That was a different kind of violation. The next receipt came from our mailbox. One afternoon, I grabbed the mail and found an envelope addressed to Adam. No company logo, no return address, just Adam's name. Inside was a single sheet of paper, a printed message, not handwritten, typed, 2 words, "U-O." My skin went cold. I stood in my kitchen with my fingers numb. When Adam came home, I handed him the paper. He went still, his face drained. "What is this?" I asked. Adam swallowed. "Spam," he said. "Spam," he forced a laugh. "Probably some scam," he said. I watched him. He was sweating. "In February, in our warm kitchen." "Adam," I said softly, "who would send you that?" His jaw clenched. "No one," he snapped. Then, immediately, his voice softened. "Sorry," he said. "Work's been intense." I nodded. I didn't push, not because I believed him, because I wanted to see what he'd do. That night, he put his phone face down on the table for the first time in years. The next day, Celeste arrived early. I watched her through the peephole. She stood on my porch, perfectly still, not scrolling, not texting, waiting. When I opened the door, she smiled. "Hi, Lena," she said. "I brought extra practice sheets." Her eyes flicked past me toward the hallway, toward Adam's office, toward my life. I smiled back. "Great!" I said. And then I did something Celeste didn't expect. I didn't let her in. Not immediately. I stepped outside, closed the door behind me. Her smile faltered for half a second. I leaned against the porch railing like we were neighbors chatting about weather. Before you go in, I said casually, I wanted to ask you something. Celeste tilted her head. Of course. I took a breath. How did you find our family? I asked. Why us? Her expression stayed calm. The agency matched me, she said. I nodded. Because it's your specialty? Math and executive function, she said. Right, I said. And before this, where were you tutoring? She didn't blink. Various families, she said. Mostly in the East Ridge area. East Ridge. That was where Adam's office was, where his company operated, where his clients lived. My pulse was steady. I made my voice light. Any chance you've met my husband before? For the first time, Celeste's smile didn't reach her eyes. No, she said. Too fast. Too flat. I held her gaze. Her eyes didn't flinch. But something in her posture changed. Like she'd shifted from friendly to prepared. Why do you ask? She said. I shrugged. Just curious, I said. Small town. People overlap. Celeste nodded. Of course, she said. People overlap. The way she repeated my words felt like she was tasting them. Then she smiled again. Should we start? She asked. I opened the door, let her in, and I decided in that moment that I wasn't going to confront her without a plan, because Celeste wasn't just slipping into my life, she was carving a path, and whatever she wanted it deliberately. A few days later, the business problem became impossible to ignore. Adam's brother, Mark, came over for dinner. Mark was loud, warm, the kind of man who always looked like he'd just finished laughing. That night, he looked like someone had stolen his oxygen. We ate in silence until Sophie went upstairs. Then Mark leaned forward. Adam, he said, voice low, someone's leaking our bids. Adam's fork clinked against his plate. What? I asked. Mark looked at me, startled. You didn't tell her? He asked Adam. Adam's eyes flashed. Not now, he said. Mark ignored him. I'm sorry, Lena, he said, but it's bad. We'd put together a proposal for Riverside. Detailed numbers. It showed up, almost word for word, in a competitor's pitch. They undercut us by just enough. My blood went cold. Riverside. Again. I looked at Adam. His face was a wall. Could it be someone inside? I asked. Mark nodded. Has to be, he said, or someone got access to Adam's laptop. Adam's jaw tightened. My laptop is secure, he said. Mark's eyes flicked to the hallway. To Adam's office. He lowered his voice. Secure doesn't matter if someone has the password, Mark said. Silence. My throat tightened, because my mind flashed to Celeste in Adam's office. Her laptop open, his file cabinet drawer half open. I felt my hands go cold. I forced my voice calm. Maybe it's a hacker, I said. Mark laughed bitterly. Hacker, he repeated. Lena, this isn't a movie. Someone is doing this on purpose. Adam stood too fast. Enough, he snapped. Mark leaned back, hands raised. Fine, he said. But if this doesn't stop, we're going to lose contracts. And if we lose contracts, we lose people. And if we lose people… He didn't finish. He didn't have to. Because Adam already looked like he knew. That night, after Mark left, Adam didn't touch me. He went upstairs, closed the bedroom door, and slept with his back to me. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, listening to the house settle. And in the silence, I realized something that terrified me more than an affair. Someone was using my family, not just my marriage, my family, to damage Adam's business. And if Celeste was involved, then this wasn't about desire, it was about control. The next day, I called the agency. I kept my voice polite. I have a question about Celeste Hurt, I said. The woman on the phone laughed lightly. Oh, Celeste is wonderful, she said. We get so much positive feedback. I'm sure, I said. Can you confirm her last name? Hart? Yes, the woman said. And her previous placements? I asked. There was a pause. I'm sorry, she said, tone shifting. We don't disclose other clients for privacy reasons. Of course, privacy, the shield people hide behind while betraying you. Right, I said. Just checking. I hung up. Then I did something I'd never done before. I searched my husband's name, not on Google like a teenager, on public records, business filings, court databases, anything, and in the dull results, buried like a needle in paperwork, I found it. A name, Celeste Hart, not as a tutor, as the registered owner of a small consulting LLC. An LLC that had filed a contract dispute against one of Adam's competitors. 2 years ago, before she ever stepped into my house, my stomach dropped. Why would a private tutor have a consulting LLC? Why would she be involved in business disputes, unless tutoring wasn't her main job? Unless tutoring was access. I printed the filing, put it in a folder, then I waited, because the more I learned, the clearer it became. Celeste didn't stumble into our life. She selected it. A week later, the third receipt arrived. It came from my daughter. Sophie came home from school, dropped her backpack, and said, Mom, Celeste asked me something weird. My heart slammed. What? Sophie frowned. She asked if Dad ever leaves his laptop open, she said, and if he uses the same password for everything. My blood went cold. What did you say? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Sophie shrugged. I said, I don't know, she said, because why would I know that? And then she laughed and said, true. I stared at my daughter. My hands shook. Celeste was using my child as an information source. She wasn't even trying to hide it anymore. I smiled at Sophie. You did the right thing, I said. If anyone ever asks you about Dad's work or passwords, you say you don't know and you tell me. Sophie nodded. Is Celeste in trouble? She asked. I swallowed. I don't know yet, I said, but I did. That night, I told Adam we needed to talk. He was in the shower when I said it. I stood in the bathroom doorway, arms crossed. He shut the water off. What's wrong? He asked, towel around his waist. I held up the printed filing. Why is Celeste Hart registered as a consulting LLC owner? I asked. Adam's face strained. What? He grabbed the paper, his eyes scanned it, his hand tightened. He looked up at me. Where did you get this? I looked, I said. Adam swallowed. Lena, he said, voice low, this is not what you think. That sentence, that cliche, the words men use when the truth is too ugly to say out loud. So tell me what it is, I said. Adam's jaw worked. She's not supposed to be here, he whispered. My chest tightened. Not supposed to be here? I repeated. Adam looked away. 2 years ago, he said, I was dealing with a vendor issue. A consultant reached out. She said she had information. I met her. It was a mistake. My heart hammered. Mistake, I said. Did you sleep with her? Adam flinched. Silence. That silence was the answer. I felt my body go numb. How long? I asked. Adam's eyes glistened. It wasn't like a relationship, he said quickly. It was, a few times. And then it ended. I ended it. I laughed once. It sounded like choking. And now she's tutoring our daughter, I said. Adam shook his head. I didn't hire her, he said. I swear, I didn't know it was her until she walked in. Then why didn't you tell me? I asked. Adam's face crumpled. Because I panicked, he whispered. Because I thought if I acted normal, she'd leave. Because I didn't want to blow up our family. You didn't want to blow up our family, I repeated, so you let her stay. Adam stepped toward me. Lena, he said, I was going to handle it. Handle it how? I snapped. By pretending she's not in our kitchen? Adam's voice broke. She threatened me, he said. I froze. What? Adam swallowed. She said if I told you, she'd go after the business, he whispered. She said she had proof. Messages. Photos. She said she'd send them to clients. To Mark. To you. My hands shook. So you let her into our house, I said. Adam's eyes filled. I didn't have a choice, he said. I stared at him. You always have a choice. You just don't like the consequences. I took a slow breath. Is she leaking your bids? I asked. Adam's face tightened. I don't know, he said, but I think she's connected to someone who is. My stomach turned. Connected how? Adam's voice was low. She knows people, he said. She's strategic. Lena, I didn't realize who she was when I met her. She wasn't a tutor. She wasn't anything like this. She presented herself as someone who could help. Help. The same word he'd used about her now, the same word Celeste used like a costume. I looked at Adam, and in that moment, the betrayal split into two different wounds. One was personal. The affair, the lies, the years of me living inside a story he wrote without my consent. But the second wound was worse. He had allowed an enemy into our home, not by accident, by cowardice. I didn't scream. I didn't throw the paper. I just said, tomorrow, she doesn't come in this house. Adam nodded too fast. Yes, he said, yes, we'll cancel. I stared at him. No, I said, we're not canceling. Adam blinked. What? I held his gaze. We're going to find out exactly what she's doing, I said. Because if she's undermining your business, canceling won't stop her. Adam's face tightened. Lena, that's dangerous. I laughed. It's already dangerous, I said. She's already in our lives. I want the truth. Adam looked like he wanted to argue. Then he looked at my face, and whatever he saw there made him go quiet. The next day, Celeste arrived at 3. I was home. Adam was home. I'd told Sophie her session was canceled because she had a doctor's appointment. Sophie was at my sister's house. Safe. Celeste rang the doorbell. I opened it. Her smile appeared. Then she saw Adam behind me. The smile changed. Not fear. Recognition. Hello, old game. Hi, Lena, she said. Hi, Adam. Her voice was smooth. Adam's face was rigid. Celeste, he said. She stepped inside without waiting. I didn't move. I let her, because I wanted to see what she thought she was allowed to do. Celeste looked around the entryway like she was checking that everything was the same. Then she turned to me. Where's Sophie? She asked. Not here, I said. Celeste blinked. Oh, she said. Did she forget? No, I said. We didn't forget. Silence. The air tightened. Adam's hand clenched. Celeste's gaze flicked to him, then back to me. and for the first time, her calm looked like something else. Calculation. Okay, she said softly. Then what is this? I smiled. This is me asking you to leave, I said. Celeste's brows lifted. Leave? She repeated, as if the concept was adorable. Adam stepped forward. Celeste, he said, voice low. This ends. You're done. Celeste looked at him like she was bored. Ends? She said. Adam, it ended when you decided it ended, but you don't get to decide that alone. My stomach twisted. I kept my voice steady. You lied to the agency, I said. You used tutoring as access. You've been asking my child about my husband's passwords. Celeste's expression didn't change. That's a dramatic interpretation, she said. Adam's voice snapped. Stop, he said. Celeste's eyes flicked to him. Stop what? She asked, smiling. He flinched. I watched that flinch. I watched how Celeste enjoyed it. And I realized this wasn't just about seduction, this was about power. Celeste turned her attention to me. You think you're the first wife to feel threatened? She asked. My hands shook. I don't feel threatened, I said. I feel invaded. Celeste smiled. Same thing, she said. Adam stepped toward her. Get out, he said. Celeste's voice was soft. Or what? She asked. The question hung in the air. Because she knew. In our home, Adam wasn't used to consequences. He was used to being the good guy, the provider, the man who avoided conflict. Celeste had built her entire plan on that. I stepped forward. Or I called the police, I said. Celeste's smile widened. For what? She asked. I have permission to be here. I'm a tutor. I tilted my head. Not anymore, I said. Then I held up my phone. I pressed play. Because while Celeste had been talking, my phone had been recording. Her voice filled the entryway. It ended when she said, You don't get to decide that alone. Celeste's eyes narrowed. That's illegal, she snapped. Not in my state, I lied. I didn't even know. But sometimes confidence is a weapon, too. Celeste's gaze sharpened. Adam's breathing was shallow. I looked at her. What do you want? I asked. Celeste laughed softly. The laugh was almost affectionate. Finally, she said, a real question. She walked past me into the kitchen like she still owned the space. I followed. Adam followed. Celeste sat at our kitchen table, the table where Sophie had learned fractions, the table where I'd eaten breakfast, the table that now felt contaminated. Celeste rested her hands on the wood. I want what I'm owed, she said. Adam's voice was hoarse. You're not owed anything, he said. Celeste's eyes flicked to him. You took something from me, she said. Adam shook his head. I didn't, he whispered. Celeste's smile turned sharp. You took my leverage, she said. You promised me a contract. You promised me access. You promised me you'd bring me into the business. I stared. What? I said. Adam's face strained. Adam, I whispered. He looked at me like a man drowning. Lena, Celeste cut him off. He made offers, she said, almost amused. He said he'd set me up. He said I could consult. He said he'd give me a seat at the table. My stomach turned. Why? I asked Adam. His voice cracked. Because she was blackmailing me, he whispered. Celeste laughed. Oh, Adam, she said. That's such a convenient story. Then she turned to me. You want the truth? She asked. My throat tightened. Yes, I said. Celeste smiled. The truth is your husband didn't fall into me, she said. He chose me. He chose the thrill. He chose the secrecy. And when he got scared, he tried to put me back in a box. My hands shook. And you decided to punish him, I said. Celeste's eyes gleamed. I decided to remind him that actions have consequences, she said. Adam's voice broke. You're destroying my company, he whispered. Celeste tilted her head. You mean the company you used to impress me? She asked. The company you described as ours when you were in my bed? My breath caught. My skin went cold. I didn't need graphic details. Those words were enough. I stood there in my kitchen, realizing my marriage had been rewritten by someone else. And Celeste was sitting at my table like she was the author. I forced my voice steady. What did you do? I asked. What did you access? Celeste smiled. I didn't have to hack anything, she said. Your house did the work for me. Your routines, your trust. My stomach dropped. She leaned forward. Adam leaves documents out, she said. He talks on speakerphone. He writes passwords on sticky notes like a teenager. Adam flinched. I stared at him. He looked away. Celeste continued. And you, she said to me, were so proud of being the stable wife. The one who manages the home. The one who keeps things running. Her eyes flicked to the hallway. You never once thought to lock that office, she said. My throat tightened. Get out, I said. Celeste smiled. Not until we negotiate, she said. Adam's voice was harsh. There is no negotiation, he snapped. Celeste's eyes narrowed. Then you'll lose everything, she said softly. I took a breath, and in that breath I felt something shift. For months I'd been bracing, waiting for Adam to fix it, waiting for the truth to appear, waiting for someone else to be the adult. But the adult was me. I walked to the counter, picked up my phone, and I called Mark. Adam's eyes widened. Lena, he whispered. I held up a hand. Mark, I said when he answered, you need to come over, now, and bring a lawyer if you can. Mark's voice sharpened. What? Celeste is in my kitchen, I said, and she's admitting she accessed company information. Silence. Then Mark said, I'm on my way. Celeste's smile faltered, just for a second, because this wasn't a private game anymore. This was a public problem. Celeste stood. You're making a mistake, she said. I met her gaze. No, I said, I'm ending it. Celeste's eyes flashed. You think your brother-in-law can save you, she asked. I shrugged. I think sunlight kills things that thrive in shadows, I said. Celeste's jaw tightened. For the first time, her calm cracked. You don't understand, she hissed. You don't understand what he promised me. I stared at her. And you don't understand, I said quietly, what you took from me. Celeste's eyes narrowed. Then her face changed. Back to composed. Back to Tutor. Fine, she said. Call whoever you want. She picked up her bag, but she didn't leave. She walked toward Adam's office. My heart slammed. Stop, I said. Celeste didn't. Adam moved fast. He grabbed her arm. Celeste twisted. Don't touch me, she snapped. In the struggle, her bag fell. The contents spilled onto the floor. Not just tutor materials, not just practice sheets, a flash drive, a second phone. A small notepad with names and numbers. I stared. Celeste froze, and in that freeze, I saw the truth. This wasn't a messy affair. This was an operation. Celeste's eyes met mine, and for the first time, she looked like she respected me, because I had seen the real tools. I stepped forward, picked up the flash drive. Celeste's voice went sharp. Put that down, she said. I held it up. What's on it? I asked. Celeste's smile returned. Nothing you'd understand, she said. I looked at Adam. His face was gray. He whispered, Lena, please. I stared at him, not at Celeste. Because the woman in front of me was predictable. She wanted power. She wanted access. But my husband was the one who opened the door. Please what? I asked. Adam's eyes filled. You'll make this worse, he whispered. I laughed softly. You made it worse, I said. Then the doorbell rang. Mark. I walked to the door, opened it. Mark stood there, breathing hard. And behind him was a woman in a blazer carrying a leather folder. A lawyer. Celeste's eyes flicked to them. Her jaw tightened. Mark stepped inside. His gaze swept the room. Adam's pale face. Celeste's spilled bag. The flash drive in my hand. What the hell? Mark breathed. I handed him the drive. This, I said, voice steady, is what's been inside our house. Mark's eyes narrowed. He looked at Celeste. Who are you? He asked. Celeste straightened. Celeste Hart, she said. Private tutor. Mark laughed once. Private tutor, he repeated. And you're also the reason we lost Riverside? Celeste's smile sharpened. I didn't lose you anything, she said. You were sloppy. The lawyer stepped forward. Ma'am, she said calmly, my name is Dana Rowe. I represent Weller Logistics. Celeste's eyes flicked to Dana. Dana continued. You are on private property and have been asked to leave, Dana said. If you refuse, we will involve law enforcement. Celeste laughed softly. And if I leave, she said, do you think your little company problems go away? Mark's face hardened. They will when we take your evidence to the police, he said. Celeste's eyes narrowed. Evidence, she repeated. She looked at me. You think that drive is going to save you? She asked. I stared back. I think it's going to tell the truth, I said. Celeste's expression shifted. In the space of a second, her mask slipped. Rage. Not at Adam, at me. Because she hadn't planned for the wife to become the investigator, she planned for me to be background, a set piece. Celeste leaned forward slightly. You don't know who you're dealing with, she said quietly. Mark stepped between us. I do, he said, and you're done. Dana held out her hand. Your phone, she said. Celeste laughed. You can't take my phone, she said. Dana smiled. We can subpoena it, she said. Or we can call the police and let them collect it as part of a cybercrime report. Celeste's smile faltered. Cybercrime. That word sounded like consequence. Celeste looked at Adam. He couldn't meet her gaze. She looked at me. And then, slowly, she picked up the second phone from the floor. Held it up. This phone, she said, voice calm, contains messages, pictures, proof of what your husband did. My throat tightened. Celeste's gaze was steady. If you go public, she said, I go public and you'll be the woman who couldn't keep her husband. The insult hit like a slap. Because she knew. She knew the fear most women carry, the fear that betrayal becomes a public label. I stared at her. Then I smiled. Not because it was funny, because it was clear. You think my worst fear is embarrassment? I asked. Celeste's eyes narrowed. I took a slow breath. My worst fear, I said, was letting you stay in my house one more day. Celeste's face tightened. I turned to Dana. Call the police, I said. Adam's head snapped up. Lena, he whispered. I didn't look at him. Dana nodded. She stepped aside and dialed. Celeste's smile vanished. For the first time, she looked cornered. Fine, she said sharply. Fine. You want to burn everything? She grabbed her bag, shoved papers inside. Then she looked at Adam, and her voice softened. Tell her, she said. Tell her what you promised. Adam's face crumpled. He whispered, I'm sorry. Celeste laughed, bitter. That's all you have? She snapped. After everything? Mark's voice was cold. Get out, he said. Celeste's eyes flashed. Then she looked at me. You think you won, she said. I held her gaze. No, I said. I think I finally stopped losing. The police arrived 15 minutes later. By then, Celeste was sitting on her porch steps like she was waiting for a ride. She looked composed, like she'd practiced this too. Dana spoke to the officers. Mark handed over the flash drive. I gave my statement. My voice didn't shake, because at some point, fear turns into something else, a clean kind of anger. Celeste was escorted off the property. As she walked past me, she leaned in, not close enough for anyone else to notice, just close enough for me to hear. This isn't over, she whispered. I didn't flinch. I whispered back, it is in my house. After they left, the kitchen felt too quiet. Adam sat at the table like a man who had been unplugged. Mark stood by the window, phone to his ear, already talking to someone else, someone about contracts and damage control and legal strategy. Dana packed her folder, and I stood in the middle of my kitchen and realized my life had split into a before and after. Adam looked up at me. His eyes were wet. Lena, he said, voice cracking, please. I stared at him. Did you know she was applying to tutor Sophie, I asked? Adam shook his head quickly. No, he said. No. I swear. I nodded. Did you stop her? I asked. Adam flinched. Silence. That silence answered the question. He might not have orchestrated it, but he didn't stop it. He let it happen, and that was enough. I need you to leave, I said. Adam's head snapped up. What? My voice stayed calm. I need you to leave the house, I said. Tonight. Adam's face collapsed. Lena, please, he whispered. We can fix this, I stared. You didn't fix it when you had the chance, I said. You hid it. You brought her into our home with your silence. Adam stood, desperate. For Sophie, he said. For our family. My throat tightened. Don't use our daughter like a shield, I said. He flinched. Mark turned from the window. Adam, he said, voice low. Go. Adam looked like he wanted to fight, then he looked at my face, and something in him broke. He grabbed his keys, walked to the garage, and left. The sound of his car pulling away was quieter than I expected, like even the driveway didn't want to make it worse. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat at the kitchen table, the table where Celeste had sat. I replayed every moment, every detail, every flicker, every lie I'd swallowed because it was easier than truth. When the sun rose, I realized something else. Celeste wasn't the only person who had invaded my family. Adam had too, not physically, emotionally, by choosing secrecy, by deciding I didn't deserve the truth. In the days that followed, the business fallout became public, not on the news, but in the way small industries whisper, clients calling, rumors moving, competitors circling. Mark and Dana worked like surgeons. They locked down accounts, changed passwords, pulled logs, not just from Adam's office, from the entire company. And as they dug, they found the pattern. Access from an unknown device. Logins at odd hours, downloads, transfers, and one name that kept appearing. Celeste Hart's LLC. She wasn't just a mistress, she was a vector, a channel, a doorway. Someone had hired her, or partnered with her, to weaken Adam's company, and she'd used Adam's ego to get inside. Mark came over 3 nights later. He looked exhausted, but his eyes were sharp. We found it, he said. I sat on the couch, Sophie asleep upstairs at my sister's house again. Found what? I asked. Mark swallowed. She was feeding information to Quinn Freight, he said. Quinn Freight. Adam's biggest competitor. My stomach turned. Why? I whispered. Mark's face tightened. Because Quinn tried to buy us last year, he said. Adam refused. Pride, loyalty, whatever. And then, a few months later, Celeste shows up in his life. My hand shook. So this was revenge, I said. Mark nodded. And leverage, he said. They wanted Adam compromised. They wanted him distracted. They wanted him scared. I stared at the wall. I thought of Celeste's calm, her precision, her early arrivals, her questions. Sophie, my daughter, used as a reason. I swallowed hard. Is there proof? I asked. Mark nodded. We have logs, he said. We have email traces, enough to start a case. I exhaled. And Adam? I asked. Mark's expression hardened. Adam is not innocent, he said, but he might not be the mastermind. He's a liability. A liability. That was my husband, reduced to a business term. And the worst part was that it fit, because his choices had made all of us vulnerable. A week later, Celeste tried to contact me, not through a phone call, through Sophie. Sophie came home from school and said, Mom, there was a note in my locker. My heart slammed. What? Sophie handed me a folded piece of paper. My hand shook when I opened it. It was Celeste's handwriting, neat, controlled, like a teacher grading you. It read, Tell your mother I can make this easier. My blood went cold. Sophie watched my face. Am I in trouble? She asked. I swallowed. No, I said quickly, you did nothing wrong. Sophie's eyes filled. Then why is she talking to me? She whispered. Because she knows where it hurts. I forced myself calm. She's not allowed to talk to you, I said. If anything like this happens again, you tell a teacher immediately. And you tell me. Sophie nodded. Her lower lip trembled. Is Dad leaving? She asked. That question, the one I'd been avoiding. Because no matter what my husband had done, my daughter still loved him. And love doesn't understand betrayal, it just understands absence. I sat beside Sophie, took her hands. Dad made a mistake, I said carefully. Sophie blinked, like, a bad mistake? I nodded. Yes, I said, and I'm figuring out what happens next. But you are safe, and you are loved, and none of this is your fault. Sophie cried quietly. I held her, and in that moment I hated Celeste more than I'd thought possible, not because she slept with my husband, because she weaponized my child. Adam came over that weekend. He stood on my porch like a stranger. He looked smaller, not physically, emotionally. Can I come in? He asked. I didn't move. No, I said. His face crumpled. Please, he whispered. I miss Sophie. My throat tightened. She misses you too, I said. That doesn't erase what you did. Adam's eyes filled. I didn't know she was going to do this, he said. I stared. You didn't stop her, I replied. Adam flinched. He swallowed. I was scared, he whispered. I laughed softly. So was I said. Every day. But I still showed up. I still did the work. I still protected our daughter. Adam nodded slowly. I'm sorry, he said. I watched him. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe sorry could rewind time. But sorry doesn't uninvite someone from your home. Sorry doesn't erase receipts. Where is she? I asked. Adam's head snapped up. Celeste? Yes, I said. Where is she now? Adam hesitated. I don't know, he said. I stared. He looked away. And that was the answer. He knew. Or at least he could find out. He just didn't want to admit how deep it went. Adam, I said quietly, if you want to be a father in this house again, you tell me everything. Every message, every promise, every threat. His face tightened. I don't have everything, he said. I nodded. Then you don't have access, I said. He flinched. I watched him realize that access was a privilege, not a right, and I watched him realize he'd spent too long treating my trust like it was automatic. Adam left my porch with his shoulders slumped, and I closed the door. Not because it felt good, because it was necessary. 2 days later, Dana called. We have an update, she said. My heart hammered. What? Dana's voice was calm. Celeste has been subpoenaed, she said, and we have enough evidence to pursue civil action against Quinn Freight for interference in trade secret misappropriation. My hand shook. And Celeste? I asked. Dana hesitated. She's trying to bargain, Dana said. She's offering to hand over communications in exchange for leniency. My stomach turned. Of course. Even now she was negotiating. Like everything was a transaction, Dana continued. And Lena, she said, you should consider a protective order. She contacted your daughter. My throat tightened. I will, I said. After I hung up, I sat at my kitchen table and stared at the wall. 10,000 thoughts. One clear truth. I had let a stranger into my home because I wanted to help my child. And that stranger had used my kindness as a blueprint. But the real betrayal wasn't just Celeste. It was the man who stood beside me for years and chose secrecy over partnership. That weekend, Mark came over again. He looked tired. But there was something else in his eyes. Relief. We're going to survive it, he said. I blinked. What? Mark nodded. The company, he said. We're tightening everything. We're telling clients. We're being honest. It's messy, but it's better than letting rumors control us. Honest. That word felt like a knife. I nodded. Good, I whispered. Mark hesitated. And Adam, he said. My chest tightened. What about him? Mark sighed. He stepped down, he said. Temporarily. He told the board he needs to handle personal issues. Dana thinks it's smart. I stared. Adam stepping down. That was a consequence. A real one, not just shame. Mark continued. He wants to do therapy, he said. He wants to fix it. I swallowed. Fix what? I asked. The marriage, the company, his image? Mark didn't answer. Because he couldn't. Because even Mark didn't know which version of Adam was real. The father. The businessman. The man who had taken vows. Or the man who had made promises to Celeste in the dark. A few weeks later, I met Celeste for the last time. Not because I wanted to. Because Dana advised me to be present for a mediation meeting. Not alone. With counsel. We met in a neutral office, bright fluorescent lights, hard chairs, a glass table that felt like it belonged in a room where people exchanged human pain for paperwork. Celeste walked in wearing the same calm expression she'd worn in my kitchen, but she looked different, less polished, not because her hair was messy, because her confidence was. She sat across from me. Dana sat beside me. Celeste's lawyer sat beside her. Celeste looked at me and smiled. Lena, she said softly. My stomach turned. I didn't respond. Dana spoke. Celeste Hart, she said. You are accused of unlawful access to proprietary business information and of harassment of a minor. Any communication will go through counsel. Celeste's smile widened. Harassment, she repeated. That's dramatic. I looked at her. You put a note in my daughter's locker, I said. Celeste shrugged. I left a message, she said. For you. Dana's voice was cold. Any contact with the child will be presented to the court, she said. Celeste's eyes narrowed. Then she leaned back, her gaze shifted from Dana to me. Do you want to know why I did it? She asked. My chest tightened. I didn't, but I did. Why? I asked. Celeste smiled. Because he told me you didn't see him, she said. My stomach dropped. She continued. He told me you were the practical one, she said. The manager, the scheduler, the mother. He said you loved him like a duty. My hand shook. And that made you want to punish me? I asked. Celeste's eyes gleamed. It made me curious, she said. I wanted to see if you were real. I stared. Celeste tilted her head. And then Quinn came along, she said, voice smooth, and they offered me something Adam never could. Dana's eyes sharpened. Which was? Dana asked. Celeste smiled. Power, she said. There it was, the simple truth. Celeste didn't want love. She wanted leverage. She wanted to be the person who could walk into a house and rearrange it. And she had. I leaned forward. You didn't just invade my marriage, I said. You invaded my child's life. Celeste's smile faltered. For the first time, genuine annoyance crossed her face. She wasn't the target, she said. That sentence, like it made it better. I felt something in me go quiet. Get out of my life, I said. Dana placed a hand on my arm. We let the lawyers talk. We let the paperwork happen. We let Celeste bargain and twist and pretend she was the victim of consequences. When the meeting ended, Celeste stood. She looked at me, and for a second her eyes were sharp, not calm, sharp. You think you're strong, she said quietly. I met her gaze. I know I am, I said. Celeste's mouth tightened. Then she turned and walked out. I didn't watch her leave because she didn't deserve my attention anymore. The protective order went through. Sophie changed schools, not because we were running, because we were rebuilding. Adam started therapy. I started therapy too, not because I needed to be fixed, because I needed a place to put the anger that didn't have anywhere to go. Our house felt different after Celeste, not haunted, just awake. Every lock felt louder. Every creak in the hallway felt like a reminder. But slowly, we created new routines. Sophie got a new tutor, a retired teacher named Mrs. Ortega who smelled like cinnamon and never asked about passwords. Sophie's grades stabilized, and one night, as I tucked her into bed, she whispered, Are you and Dad going to be okay? My throat tightened. I told her the truth. We're going to take care of you, I said, no matter what. Sophie nodded, and in that moment I realized something. The story Celeste tried to write about my family wasn't going to be the ending, because the ending wasn't hers, it was mine. Months later, Adam and I sat across from each other in a counselor's office. He looked older, not because time passed, because consequences do that. I betrayed you, he said. I nodded. Yes, I said. He swallowed. And I endangered Sophie, he whispered. My throat tightened. Yes, I said again. He looked at me like he wanted a miracle. Can you forgive me, he asked. That question, the one people ask like forgiveness is a switch. I took a breath. I don't know, I said, but I know this. I will never be kept in the dark again. Adam nodded slowly. I'll tell you everything, he whispered. I stared. You should have, I said, from the beginning. He flinched, and for the first time, his flinch wasn't controlled by Celeste. It was controlled by the truth, because the truth finally had power. After that session, Adam did something he should have done months earlier. He stopped trying to manage the story. He gave Dana everything, not the sanitized version, not the version where he was the victim of a crazy woman who wouldn't let go. Everything. The early messages where he flirted back like it was harmless, the ones where he tried to end it and then panicked. The ones where she mentioned Quinn Freight before any of us knew the name mattered. When Dana read through them, she didn't gasp, she didn't judge. She just said, this is leverage, like she was naming the weather. And that was the strangest comfort of all. Because for the first time, someone with power was treating Celeste like what she was. Not a love story, not a scandal, an attack. Quinn Freight's lawyers tried to paint it as a private mess. They kept using words like affair and jealousy and consent, like if they made it romantic enough, they could shrink what she did into gossip. But Dana didn't let them. She kept returning to the same point. Access, confidential information, targeted intimidation, and my daughter. The first time someone said Sophie's name in a legal meeting, my stomach turned. Because I realized how close we'd come to normalizing something that should have terrified everyone. Not the cheating, the infiltration. Celeste tried one more time to reach me directly. It came as an email from an address I didn't recognize. The subject line said, For Sophie. My hands went cold. The message was short. You don't have to do this the hard way. I stared at the screen until my breathing slowed. Then I forwarded it to Dana. I blocked the address, and I printed it. Not because I needed to obsess, because I needed to remember who I was dealing with. People like Celeste thrive on silence, on a wife choosing dignity over truth, on everyone being too embarrassed to say the ugly parts out loud. I wasn't embarrassed anymore, I was done. That night, I walked through the house and did the unglamorous work of safety. I changed the Wi Fi password, I reset the smart locks, I deleted the old garage code, I moved Adam's office documents into a locked drawer and put the key on my own ring. And when I finished, I stood in the hallway and listened. The house was quiet, not because nothing had happened, because I had finally stopped giving the wrong people access to my peace. And if you're listening to this story and thinking, I would have noticed sooner, maybe. Or maybe you would have done what I did. You would have wanted to believe the best. You would have wanted the tutor to just be a tutor. You would have wanted your husband to just be tired. You would have wanted the world to be simple. But here's what I learned. The most dangerous person isn't always the one who breaks in. Sometimes it's the one you invite in, and sometimes the real betrayal isn't the stranger. It's the person who hands them the key. And here's what else I learned. Sunlight doesn't just expose, it disinfects. So if something in your life feels off, if a detail doesn't belong, if a smile is too calm, if someone knows things they shouldn't, trust that feeling. Not because you want drama, because you deserve safety. And safety isn't a vibe, it's a boundary, it's a lock, it's a line you enforce. And once you enforce it, you get something back that no one can steal: peace.